Good evening, ladies and gentlemen out there in YouTube land. I am Deleted Scenes, human being American, YouTube Ronin. And tonight I want to talk about a story that the mainstream press seems to not want to tell you about. They have their reasons, they have their agendas, and because of that, there are certain things that have been reported incorrectly. But tonight I'm going to let you know what I have found to be the case. I'm going to do my best not to rant. This is probably not going to be a long show, but I'm just going to tell you what I know about the case, where it is now, and how all of this got started and why I think it happened. Henry Nowak, it was an 18-year-old university student in Southampton, England. And on the December the 3rd of last year, he got into an altercation outside of a pub with a Sikh by the name of Vikram Digwa, who's 23. They had an altercation, some words exchanged. Nowak tried to walk away. Digwa ran up behind Nowak with a blade, cutting his leg, which dropped him, and then proceeded to stab him 5 times in the back. Now this Digwa claims that he did this in self-defense and that there were racial epithets hurled at him from Nowak. Now Nowak was in this pub. He did drink, but he apparently was below the limit, so he wasn't drunk. So he had his wits about him. Now, either way, words exchanged or not, who bumped into who, whatever. When the other guy walks away, you don't go after him. Now, what was supposedly said that could be construed as racial, I don't know, because no source that I've gone to has been able to tell me. So until such time as evidence of that happening being said, I'm not going to buy it. I have covered a number of times on this show incidents taking place in the UK of people with various kind of blades, people who are foreigners to the UK, attacking UK citizens. So the fact that this happened, that's something that just seems to be as mild as two guys in front of a bar walking into one another. And who the hell hasn't done that, by the way? Blows up into something that you would think would be international news. Now, if here in the US and the UK had any kind of real news media remaining, who knows? Maybe we would get the straight story. And you know what? You wouldn't need a guy like me to tell you. So the news media leaves it to us. The people who put themselves in harm's way to get these stories. The Nick Shirleys of the world who actually go out and do the investigating. I'm here like you guys. I get up, I go to work every day. Well, almost every day. And I have to go to these alternate sources for news. And one of the things that the news media is not telling us about is the two-tier policing that goes on. Now, I'm looking at a couple of different sources here. So I'm just going to do a summary of what they say. So this is what we know. Now, like I said, like around 11:30 p.m., Nowak walks out of this pub. This Digwa is saying that's when he, and I quote, Nowak barged into him, said something racial, and moved on. But still, okay, the guy called you a name and he walked away. Let's say, for example, that happened for a minute. You're going to chase him down the road and stab him? Maybe in your country that's okay. Maybe they do that. But now you're in a country that has laws, or had them. And I say had them because, okay, here's what's going to happen. Here's what happens next. All right. So you have Nowak now down on the ground. He has to crawl because his legs have been disabled. He's been stabbed in the back, so he probably has a spinal, right? You know, so he's crawling to get away. And the story as I know it, he first tries to climb into a dumpster. And when he couldn't do that, he tried to get over a fence. This whole time, this guy chasing him, following him down the road, right? So Nowak starts calling for help. Because he's unarmed and wounded, and this guy's still after him. What are you going to do? That's when neighbors called the police. Now, what happened before the police got there was that this guy Digwa's parents got to the scene before the police did. And the mother, who's this Kieran Carr, took possession of the knife, the murder weapon, and took it home and hid it. Finally, the police show up. And quote unquote interview both men. I'm like, I don't know about you, but maybe the guy who's bleeding on the ground, bleeding out and dying, by the way. Maybe, you know, give him some medical attention. Maybe. I don't know. Just a thought. I'm going to read this the way it's written. Police interviewed both men. Digwas stated that Nowak had started a drunken fight and racially abused him. Police then handcuffed Nowak, who told the police that he had been stabbed. They told him he had not been. Nowak's last words were, "Please, brother, I can't breathe." When Nowak collapsed, they administered first aid, but he died on the scene at 12:37 a.m. Now, this went on for over an hour of this man bleeding out in the street because some guy decided, hey, this guy called me a name and I get to kill him now. What kind of a world are we living in now? Now, when the Metropolitan Police, and oh, by the way, Metropolitan Police, please feel free to come after me. Please go ahead, because you are the worst police department in the world. You handcuffed a dying man begging for his life, bleeding out in the street, who was clearly the victim, because you wanted to virtue signal. Pure and fucking simple. You allowed a citizen of your country to die in the street, handcuffed. A kid with no record. This wasn't a criminal. This was a college student. You know what? Maybe the citizens of the UK would be better off without the police. Because all I've seen you lot do is bend the knee. And it happens in other countries too. It happens here. It's happening in France right now, which is why the freaking Eiffel Tower is on fire. But geez, deleted. They're just football fans, are they? I don't know that. All I'm seeing are people who are clearly not French burning the country to the ground, or at least burning Paris to the ground anyway. And what does their president say? Oh, it's a great day in France. Oh, okay. All right, well. Go do something useful like sue Candace Owens or something. Oh, wait. All right. So there was a trial, and I am going to go ahead and read this as it's been stated. At Southampton Crown Court, Digwa pleaded not guilty to the charges of murder, manslaughter, and carrying a knife in public. Judge William Mousley instructed the jury to consider manslaughter as an alternative to murder, explaining that if a person did not intentionally cause the fatal injury nor did not intend to kill or cause serious harm, they would not be guilty of murder. Digwa's mother, Kieran Carr, 53, was charged with assisting an offender by removing the weapon from the scene. She pled not guilty. Prosecutor Nicholas Laubenberg, KC, told the jury that during the evening, Nowak's blood alcohol level was below the drink driving limit, and that he had been filming a Snapchat video which captured Digwa prior to the stabbing. The video footage was shown to the jury. Laubenberg told the jury that the killing was not witnessed by anyone other than Nowak and Digwa, and that after the stabbing, Digwa had, quote, chose to aggressively pursue Nowak. In court, when asked why he had not told the police he stabbed Nowak, Digwa said he was scared because it was, quote, the first time anything like this had ever happened. He alleged that Nowak had earlier threatened him with racial remarks, then began recording him on the phone, and that a fight broke out after he grabbed the phone. Digwa said he acted in self-defense. He further testified his mother, along with his father, arrived at the scene and took the kirpan, which is the knife that he used, back to their family home. Defense barristers told the jury they had to consider whether Digwa acted in the heat of the moment. On 27th of May, the jury retired to consider a verdict. On the 28th of May this year, it rejected the claims of self-defense, and Digwa was found guilty of murder and Carr guilty of assisting an offender. Digwa is to be sentenced on June the 1st, Carr on July the 17th. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I hope they are both given the maximum sentences, because I think that's what's deserved. Because what are you going to do? Are you going to stab everyone who calls you a bad name? And I'm not even convinced that that happened in this case. In fact, I'm willing to believe it didn't. And even if it did, so what? I've had racial epithets hurled at me by non-whites since I could walk. Have I killed anyone over it? No. Because I know what would happen if I did. But the fact that the victim on the ground, bleeding, trying to walk away, trying to crawl away, couldn't walk by that point, and the police handcuff the victim. He called me a name and I stabbed him. Oh, well, that's just fine and dandy, sir. Move along, thank you. You're in a country where children can't go to the park, where women can't walk down the street, and apparently college students can't walk out of a pub without risking being killed. Or assaulted, and I don't even want to say what else. Because you have, as they call it, a police service that is so frightened of being looked at as racists that they are willing to let their own citizenry die just to virtue signal. Now, I'm not saying that everything that every police department does is 100% correct every time. Of course not. There's going to be corruption. And I'm not saying that that doesn't happen. But the idea is that the police department is supposed to be the front line. They are supposed to be a buffer between criminal and the law-abiding members, the law-abiding citizens. If they acquiesce, if they virtue signal, if they take a knee, where does that leave us? Where does that leave our women and children who are so obviously in the crosshairs of these criminals? We are living in a world where the victim of a murder is left to bleed out on the street for over an hour, and he's the one who gets handcuffed. He's the one who's treated like the criminal. I say tonight, and if YouTube doesn't like this, fine. If the Metropolitan Police does not like this, fine. My word tonight to the citizens of the UK, stand up. Take your country back. Non-violently, but if you are put in a position where you have no choice but to defend yourselves, you do what you have to do. Because I'm going to tell you for sure, I am not going to be the guy who's going to be dead in the street, bleeding out. And motherfucker, you better come at me from the front. Because I know how cowardly these people are. All of these attacks, you see them, you see the films of them every day, always from behind. Always, every single fucking time from behind. Learn to defend yourselves. Learn to fight. Do what you have to do. Because we are dealing with people that have no idea of right and wrong, who have been allowed to do whatever their entire lives. And no, you're the precious little snowflake. No one can say no to you. You can go in and destroy a convenience store. You can go out on the street and punch women. Do horrific things to little children. Stab people in the back. And they're allowed to do it. Because the politicians bend the knee. And the mainstream media bends the knee. And the cops are so hamstrung because if they do their jobs, there's a 50-50 chance that they're either going to be fired, arrested, or prosecuted themselves. We cannot depend on the police. And we cannot depend, and even if the police shows up, we cannot expect them to be on our side. I am not saying go out and commit violence. I am saying do what the situation calls for. And if someone tries to physically harm you, you drop them first. By any means necessary. Because I, for one, am not going to be that guy bleeding out in the street for an hour. Stabbed to death by a coward who had to run to his mommy. Now, I know for this rant, there are people who are going to say I'm a racist. You know what? I don't give a shit. How many times have I had to hear it? I've been called a racist since I could walk. And even if you say, but I'm not, well, that's because you're so racist, you don't know. And it's always been the same people over and over again my entire life. And that's why I call them race grifters, because that's what they are. People are being paid to let this go on. Learn to fight. Learn to defend yourselves. Teach your kids to fight. Because I am sick and fucking tired of seeing these videos of women being punched in the street, children being attacked by mobs. I've seen this my entire life. I've been a victim of this. I've seen this, and I went out and I learned to fight. Enough is enough. Quit worrying about being called ist or phobe or any of that shit. They're going to call you that anyway. It doesn't matter. They have diffused those words. That's how mad it makes me. And if I see someone attacking a woman, if I see somebody just walking by and pushing a random child down or punching a baby in the head, if I see that shit, you better stand by, because that is going to be the last thing you do. Learn to fight. Defend yourself. Don't worry about what you're going to be called. And don't bend a knee, because if you do, they're going to cut them right out from under you. Because maybe the government of the UK has already surrendered. And maybe there are certain parts of our government that have already surrendered. That's become very obvious in some states. The State of the Union, I'll tell you what the State of the Union is apparently we're not a union. I don't want to come on here and talk about this stuff. I don't want to have to say this. You're smart people. You already know. Politicians surrender. The mainstream media is getting paid to look the other way. And the cops are so hamstrung that there's nothing that they can do. Who does that leave? That leaves us. This is Call of Duty, the home game. Okay. This is a 360-degree battlefield. You got to have eyes in the back of your head. Have situational awareness. Learn to fight. Walk away if you can. But if someone comes at you, you do what you have to do. Because if you don't, this is what's going to happen. What happened to this young man who had his whole life ahead of him? Walks out of a pub, runs into a guy, maybe gets into an argument, maybe he doesn't. No one knows. But either way, he tried to walk away and he died for it. All right. Do want to say hello to the folks in the chat. Hello to Big Al Presents, the host of Films with Friends, the creator of the 10-Word Review. Want to say hello to the Bird Woman of YouTube, Connie Cleary. Watch out for her second channel, Fluff Chick Productions. Swinging the blue wrench around the night. Hello to friend of the channel, D. Penzak. Jamie Lynn Simons is with us. My partner in crime, Outlaw Bill. host and creator of Action Theater and Western Cinema Presents. Depends exists strange similarities between this event and that at a Texas high school track event. Both aren't being covered by the press here. Hello to Enigma Severus. My co-host on the Mystery Movie Night podcast. Didn't they also take the victim's phone too? Well, the police wound up with it eventually, whether they took it or not. I don't know. I'm not aware of that. I would think that they probably did. Reacted in self-defense to what? Harsh words? Exactly. Hello to FKHC 2005, sometimes known as Tim. Hello to Aged Boomer, my co-host on Live from Spark 121, co-host of the Friday Night Last Call, and the host of Geeky Geezers, which is coming up here at the top of the hour. Not yet anyway, no sarcasm. Yeah. He called me a name and I stabbed him 5 times. Yeah. There goes the tourist dollars for the UK for the time being. Yeah, my advice would be do not go there. Do not go to the UK. Do not go to France. And good Lord, do not go anywhere in the Middle East. Especially if you're going to start saying my pronouns, you know. Hello, channel member JPRPH1. Good to see you, sir. This is the trial in the Texas high school track murder starts tomorrow. Let's see how much of this is covered on the news. My guess is it probably won't. Like that guy who just shot up the White House the other day. You hear about him anymore? I wonder why. I hope his family sues. Well, my understanding is that Elon Musk has thrown some money their way, and it looks like that. It looks like his family is going to sue the police, and I hope they do. I hope they do, and I hope they take them for every cent that they possibly can. The police let this boy die. Tim says, and I'm going to Edinburgh in the fall. Well, let's stay safe, man. Keep your head on a swivel. Jury selection, which will probably be stalled somehow by the defense. Probably. Charlotte's going to get dragged because the defense will have no ability to stop what's coming. Says say it's going to be manslaughter unless they can prove he went there intentionally to start a fight with someone. Yeah. Someone is playing both sides. Yeah. Absolutely. We have traitors in our midst. Believe that. Yes, I believe the kid was begging to fight someone to prove he was tough, proving he was intentionally going there to fight. He's going to be difficult, unless they got video or audio saying so. Yeah. Sad part is, if I defend someone at work, I'll be fired because of it. I don't doubt that either. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Enigma says, thank you, deleted, for calling me smart. You overestimate me. Or maybe you should estimate me. The world is not safe. You have governments who don't care. Members of the mainstream media who are being paid off to look the other way. People who get paid to cause trouble. And police are so hamstrung that there's not really a whole lot they can do. They're underfunded, outmanned, in a lot of cases outgunned. And I'm willing to believe at this point that there are some of them that are so far left on their own that they won't do their jobs. And I wonder why they still have badges. And to the Metropolitan Police, you should be ashamed of yourselves. You bent the knee one time too many. And you're on everybody's radar now. Thank you to everyone on Twitter for following along. I can't see you, but I know that you're there. Thank you to everyone who was here in the live chat, or anyone who might be lurking in the background. From HQ and all points north, south, east, west, and beyond, good night. Take care. Stay strong. Be safe. Be healthy. Because this is how we win. And to the family of Henry Nowak, you have my deepest condolences. I'm with you, and I support you. To Henry Nowak, rest in peace, young man.